Welcome to SkyWatch TV. I'm Gary Stearman, and right alongside me, author, publisher, Tom Horn. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Gary. Great to be with you to announce SkyWatch TV, the newest enterprise that, of course, will also have Gary Stearman as its anchor.
And I'm very delighted to be here because there are going to be, quite frankly, some things happening on SkyWatch TV that are exciting, and not only exciting, but timely and much needed. Let's talk about the purpose of SkyWatch TV. What do you envision this ministry doing?
Yeah, Gary, we couldn't be more excited. You know, we started out some years ago, a decade ago, with Raiders News Update, and anybody that knows anything about me knows about that enterprise. The purpose of it was really to talk about what nobody else would talk about, or maybe sometimes what they were too afraid to talk about.
Yes.
We kind of go where no man has gone before. But, you know, we started recognizing a few years ago that we'd gone about as far as we could go with just Raiders News Update and Defender Publishing, which is the publishing side of our company. And also noticing that people more and more today use video. You know, they have handheld devices, they have iPads, have smartphones, and people have busy schedules. And so we just came to believe that the time was now, if we were going to take the next step and really where we should, go where we should be, that we would also introduce television. So we'll be webcasting, but we'll also be on cable television, and we'll be making those announcements pretty soon too.
Now, you see yourself as filling a kind of a gap that's out there right now for Christians. And Christians go to church, they study the Bible, they really want to understand Bible prophecy, but the churches seem to be missing the mark these days, Tom, and you and I have talked about this in the past. Let's go into that a little bit. SkyWatch TV is going to fill a kind of a gap that's out there today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, I pastored for 20-some years, and of course, so I noticed that from the church side, that ours was one of the few churches out there, like the church you pastor in Oklahoma, that actually is brave enough to talk about the subject of prophecy. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, as time has gone on in American history, churches have pretty much abandoned the question of prophecy, and yet, when you look around the world, it looks today more than ever like we are surrounded with the unfolding of biblical prophecy. And people have questions about it.
They do.
So we feel that's our calling. We're to be one of those people that kind of stand in the gap and try to bring reason and understanding and solid theological interpretation to the news events of the day that very much make it look like we're moving into the end times.
Well, I really agree with you on that point. In fact, in my mind, it's difficult to separate Bible prophecy from the gospel. When you teach the gospel, you're teaching prophecy. When you teach prophecy, you're teaching the gospel, particularly in this day and age, because we feel that we're entering a closing era, the era mentioned by the ancient prophets. And SkyWatch TV is going to move right in and begin to deal with those subjects. You know, in the movies today, we see transhumanism, we see alien invasions, and we see all kinds of things that Bible scholars who are prophetically inclined interpret as the subjects mentioned in the Bible. In fact, we believe that current developments are explained in Scripture, and I know you believe that.
We do, and again, that's the main reason why when we found out that you would be available, that's why we came to you and talked to you, because you're one of the few people today, Gary, that I have such highest regard for your premillennial, pre-tribulational, solid Western kind of Baptist theology, that we grew up with, and it was the stuff that we preached. But today, it seems like there's very few solid theologians who remain that can keep, good doctrine is really important. So if people are asking questions, and they are, what are aliens? If you watch the movies that are coming out right now, every movie is dealing with transhumanist themes. They're dealing with alien themes. They're dealing with, they're also dealing now with apocalyptic themes.
Sure. And
so people have questions, and if the church isn't providing answers, then they're going to go to New Age sources or other spurious sources to get answers to those questions. In fact, you can, if you look at the logo, SkyWatch TV,
yes.
I mean, you would get that right away,
sure.
right?
Absolutely.
Any of us old schoolers would get the fact that we're watching the sky. The return of Jesus Christ is close. But before that moment, there could be things that are happening around the world, and people need answers to those questions.
The old King James adage, "Look up, for your redemption draweth nigh," is very much a reality these days. Let's go into another subject. Let's talk about interviewing some authors on SkyWatch TV. We're going to be talking with people who are at the cutting edge of Bible prophecy, of not only the understanding of Scripture, but current events. For example, the Ebola scare is big, as we're talking today, and we have Sharon Gilbert upcoming in one of our early interview programs, as she's worked on a manuscript. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. In fact, we're hoping that in about 2 weeks from right now, that Sharon Gilbert will be among those who will be the first pilot shows that Bob Ulrich, our mutual friend, will then take and use that to pitch to cable television and network television. But Sharon, we chose as one of the pilot shows because she has degrees in biology. She's qualified to talk about what the Ebola virus and other types of possible pandemic situations are. But what I love about Sharon is she's not only academically qualified and engaging and articulate, but Sharon also believes in Bible prophecy. So she believes that the day is coming where one of these contagions, whether it's some form of Ebola or the bird flu or something else, might be one of those plagues that are spoken of in Scripture. Now, I should say very quickly that I have read the first draft of her book, and the book is titled Ebola and the Fourth Horseman of the Apocalypse. It's very good. I loved it. It's engaging. Sometimes it's scary. But what I liked about it is she also includes very practical things that a person could do to protect themselves if a pandemic actually did break out, for instance, here in the United States. Well, we hope to have her right here in this studio, sitting here with you, talking about Ebola. And what people will draw from that is SkyWatch TV, in different kind of ways, is going to be kind of a new paradigm in Christian broadcasting, meaning that we're going to be a little bit old school, right? We're going to deal with some of the old line stuff and the theology and the doctrine and history and things like that. But we're also going to be in the news, taking the top stories around the world and putting them in a biblical worldview, into context, so that people will know what that might mean for them.
And you've got a lot of plans, including an online journal. SkyWatch TV is going to have a readable contribution to the public discourse. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, a brand new website is coming. And so that people know this, Raiders News Update is going to become SkyWatch TV. There's a brand new website. It'll be very commercial. It'll be very much driven by this kind of media content, video content. There will still also be headlines there, but people will see that cleaned up a great deal, which we've needed to do for a while. We also are going to launch a magazine in the first quarter of 2015, the Lord willing. That is our plan. And at first, it'll only be an online magazine, and it'll be free. And so we'll have some of the top prophecy thinkers in the world that'll be contributing to that magazine, and we'll make that available. And then there's one other thing before we run out of time, Gary, that I want to mention.
Okay.
And that is this other aspect of it being a new paradigm in Christian broadcasting, is we're going to do something kind of like, if people are familiar with the television show 2020.
Sure.
Yeah, kind of a news journalistic investigation kind of approach to doing television. And we even have some of our first investigations already in mind.
You know, investigative journalism has a huge history, but it's never really been brought into the biblical arena. And lately that has started to happen on a small scale, but you're going to enlarge that a bit.
Yeah, we actually are. As a matter of fact, the book for this investigation has already been written. It's this right here, Redeemed, Unredeemable. And this was an investigation by myself and Donna Howell, where we literally went behind the iron bars of America's largest prisons. And for some of the people that are still alive, for instance, we talked with the son of Sam killer, David Berkowitz, who is now a Christian of fame and has been for quite a long time. We actually talked with the main hitman for the Manson family, Charles Tex Watson, who is now a Christian. But this is going to be followed up with by a film documentary. So when I say we're going to have this investigative journalistic kind of approach, a couple times per year, we'll kind of break in. And then now, instead of it just being Gary Stearman talking to somebody like Sharon Gilbert, there may be several people on this set where we've went to a remote location, we've filmed experts in different issues, and we're bringing back a special report, and that may play out over a period of 3 to 4 weeks.
Well, I'd like to say that I've read Redeemed, Unredeemable, and what it did for me was bring out the idea of the gospel. You know, knocking on doors, leaving tracts. A lot of us have gone through the idea of sharing the gospel. We've been through it, and now we're out the other side, and we've lost interest. But that gospel is as fresh as it ever was, and we need new ways of bringing it to new and different people who haven't heard it before. And I think SkyWatch TV is going to be a big part of that.
Well, we're certainly excited about it. We wanted to shoot this first little video here so we could put this out online to introduce you as the anchor of SkyWatch TV and give people just a little bit of information to whet their appetite about what's coming.
It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it, and I think you should too. I'm Gary Stearman for Tom Horn, and it's going to be exciting, so keep watching us, will you?